The best move of the offseason so far. Yeah, I know it's a little bit dumb with all this Kyrie Irving talk because we're all thinking that Kyrie Irving isn't going to be playing for the Cavs next season and they might make a move. They probably will make a move and it's probably going to be a big deal. And I'm talking about blockbuster trades, but I said fuck it. Guys, need more ideas? I did say I like the idea of conference standings. I did it last year. I saw someone commented that. And I'm going to do the conference standings predictions. That's what I'm saying. Predictions for conference standings, basically what I'm talking about. I'm going to do that video after this whole situation is resolved, probably at the end of the summer, honestly, because I want to make sure everybody's in place for the new season so that I can make that video while we have these rosters that we're ready with for the 2017-18 NBA season. But for now, we're going to be talking about these moves. Just to pretty much summarize the offseason, this Kyrie thing, it just all wasn't really supposed to happen. It was a really forced thing by Kyrie Irving, and yeah, like I said, it shouldn't be happening, but it is, and I'm glad it is, but that's for another day, and when that trade happens, we'll definitely be talking about it. But so far, what's been the best blockbuster move? I have a few to choose from. Obviously, Chris Paul being traded to the Houston Rockets, Jimmy Butler being traded to the Timberwolves, Paul George being traded to the OKC Thunder, and of course, Gordon Hayward signing with the Boston Celtics. I'm gonna be really mad if I forgot something here, because I think those are the four big ones. If I forget, yeah, it's gonna suck. Anyway, these are four studs, four superstars that are in new places for next season, guys that will make a huge impact, whether that be positive or negative, and it's probably always gonna be positive, just judging by the stature of these players. I want to start with the Chris Paul trade, and basically what I'm doing in this video, I'm going to talk about the four trades briefly, compare them, and then basically give my final verdict. I know I did cover these trades when they happened, but you know, I think it'll be cool to rank them and you know, see which one has the biggest effect. So let's start with the Chris Paul. Like I said, Chris Paul trade, man, out of all the trades, this was probably the trade where the team getting the bulk of the trade, obviously the Rockets in terms of value, you get Chris Paul, superstar stud point guard. They were being criticized probably more than any of the other teams in these scenarios for landing the big name star Chris Paul. And it was pretty much because after sliding James Harden to point guard last season, the Houston Rockets had quite possibly their best season in the James Harden era. I know they had that one year where they made the Western Conference Finals, but with this team, it was more impressive just due to the fact that James Harden, it seemed like, was given, you know, a group of role players that he was to lead to this great record, which he did. And the system was beautiful. You have James Harden, you have a ton of shooters, you have an athletic big running the floor, and you got this offense which worked to perfection last season, and not a lot of that needs to change. So now you bring in Chris Paul after having a great offensive year, and do you really expect your offense to get better? Yes, I know Chris Paul is a great offensive player. We all do. But when you have something going, when you have something working, it's not easy to retool your offense that was already amazing and make it better than amazing, right? And I also would mention Chris Paul's impact on the defensive end, because this team isn't a great defensive team, but you already had Patrick Beverley at point guard, and you replaced him with Chris Paul. The defensive upgrade, you know, I guess it's there, but it's not really there because both these guys are elite defensive players. So, I mean, you don't go wrong with this defensively, but still, I mean, it's not like you're getting a whole lot more than you were before. Chris Paul on offense should probably find a way to help this team, and overall, it is healthy to have more than one superstar on your team, or star. They didn't even have another star besides James Harden, but, you know, Chris Paul and James Harden, it's good. I like this trade, honestly, just because you're not going to win with one star, or, you know, you're not going to. And if that's James Harden in today's NBA, when you got to play the Warriors with four of those guys, there's absolutely no way. So you need somebody like this. You need a guy that can change the game dramatically. Chris Paul can do that, and I think the Rockets made the right move here, although they gave up a lot, and, you know, it's a little bit of a redundant move. I think it gives them a better chance to win. I don't know if it gives them a better record next year. I don't think they'll have a better record next year than they did this year. Absolutely not. But I do think it makes them a bigger threat in the playoffs, because when you get better players, the players don't need to deliver night in, night out during the season, but as long as they're there during the playoffs, as long as they're giving you big-time performances in the big-time games, you don't really have a lot to complain about. Overall, for the Rockets, I think I'd give this trade of B, B minus. I think I'm going to say B because this trade isn't perfect, but I do think that it helps them. I do think it makes them better. I think it's a good trade, solid trade. You did dump a whole lot of your bench players and young guys, but that's the price you got to pay if you're going to be a team trying to go into win now mode. You're probably going to have to do that with your assets in order to get a guy like Chris Paul. That's way more important than Sam Decker, Montrezl Harrell, and etc. Now the Jimmy Butler trade, of course, the Chicago Bulls traded Jimmy Butler to the Minnesota Timberwolves in exchange for the number 7 pick, Chris Dunn, Zach LaVine. All I can say is the Minnesota Timberwolves made a genius trade. They moved from, a team on the come up trying to make the playoffs to almost a contender. I mean, seriously, this team should be top 4. I talked about them a few days ago, maybe it was a week ago. I made a video about how good the Timberwolves are, and I'm super high on the Timberwolves. People are talking about this team might win 45 games. I think that's all BS. I don't understand how a team, when you took Jimmy Butler, superstar player, impact stud, because look at the Chicago Bulls last year with Jimmy Butler on and off the court. I talked about the efficiency. I don't want to just reiterate what I said. But basically, check out net rating and stats like that and how much this team suffered. The Bulls were absolute garbage without Jimmy Butler last season, and when he was on the floor, they were an above average team. They were a pretty good team. Without him, trash. With him, decent. Like, I'm not even exaggerating that. Plus, I watched every single game and had to see the horror, but anyway, that doesn't really matter. The point is, Jimmy Butler is a great impact player. He does a whole lot of things. He plays really good defense. He can score in basically every facet of the game. He gets to the free throw line. He's a very underrated playmaker. And he's a 6'7", built, athletic, and versatile player that can play 4 positions. Yeah, he can play 4 positions. He can guard 4 positions. He can play 4 positions. And he's done it. And I've been witness to it. This guy's such a valuable player and an underrated player to have on your team. The Timberwolves add this guy, and they now have Butler and Cat on the same team with Andrew Wiggins. It's a developing, hopefully they turn him into a star, but maybe they can do that when he develops, any other skill rather than scoring. And Jeff Teague's a pretty solid point guard. Taj Gibson is a solid starting 4. If he's the 5th guy on your team, you're doing well, and he is. The Timberwolves have a really solid squad, not to mention that bench that they're building. They have Gorgie Jang there and Jamal Crawford and that rookie Justin Patton. I think, look, this team with one more player on that bench maybe, like, they don't have a lot of weaknesses. Their starting lineup is really filled out. They have rebounding covered. Their shooting is really the biggest issue there. That will be their downfall, if anything, if it isn't like defense, because their young guys don't want to play defense or something they can't get. I mean, they have Thibodeau as their coach. They brought in Jimmy Butler, so they should be a lot better off there. I think this team is phenomenal looking, and they're going to be better because they have young guys that are going to get better, and this trade is an A+. I don't see anything wrong with this trade. They even finessed their way out of giving the Bulls the 16th overall pick. Are you serious? I was so mad because I'm a Bulls fan. I was so mad that we got finessed with that pick, pretty much. And Jimmy Butler, but I mean, he's gonna help them so much. They're gonna be a really good team. I think this is a genius trade. This is probably the best one on here out of the moves that I'm talking about. But hey, we'll see. Now, third move that we had was Paul George to OKC, and a lot of people were really high on this. Thought this was great. Paul George is a rental player though, and I know people might be saying, "Oh, look, they gave up only Oladipo and Sabonis." And it's actually funny because Orlando literally traded them Oladipo and Sabonis last year for Ibaka, which was funny. So they basically traded Ibaka for Paul George. I mean, really, when you think about it, right? Because all those guys came and went. You traded Ibaka for Paul George here for a 1 year of Paul George. And that's when they thought Durant was coming back, right? And then he ruined the NBA on July 4th, 2016. We're not going to talk about that, though. It's a tough subject. Anyway, Paul George is a great player. He will flourish next to Russell Westbrook in his first season in OKC. I think I have no problem with that combination. I think Russell Westbrook needs a guy like Paul George. He's a guy that can defend, shoot on spot-up opportunities, which is huge. He's athletic. He can attack the basket. He can do it all. And he's a superstar player. I don't have any doubt that these two can work it out and be a top 5 seed in the West or better. The problem comes with, after this 1 year, Paul George wants to go to LA. And he says, look, if he has a successful first season, then he's probably going to stay in OKC. That doesn't really mean anything. I mean, he's definitely not going to feel the same way he does right now after the end of next season, because things are going to change. Everything's going to look completely different. I don't know if we can rely on that for now. But hey, I think this is a good trade overall. I definitely came around to it. I didn't think it was great for OKC. I thought they were taking a big risk. But now, I like it. I'm going to give them an A- here, just because, Oladipo and Sabonis, they're not proven yet, but they could be something. And if they are, maybe it won't look too good if PG dips to the Lakers after next year, but who knows. The last move I'm going to talk about is Gordon Hayward signing with the Boston Celtics and the sign-in trade. So we're going to combine those actually. We're going to talk about the Celtics. They got Gordon Hayward and Marcus Morris, and they lost Avery Bradley to the Detroit Pistons. So I thought the Gordon Hayward signing was good, and I thought the Avery Bradley trade was bad. A bunch of you guys were mad at me. I know there were a lot of Celtics fans in that comment section on the Marcus Morris video. Because I was talking about I didn't understand the trade. You guys were talking about cap room and stuff with Avery Bradley. And yeah, I think I got his age wrong. So I apologize. I screwed up in that video. Don't watch that video. It actually did decent. Anyway, I'm off topic. Basically, this Avery Bradley trade was to free up cap space for Gordon Hayward, of course. But, I was like, oh, why can't you just trade Jay Crowder? He's definitely, I don't know, maybe Detroit didn't want to do that then. So whatever, it's fine. You had to get him Gordon Hayward some way, somehow. They did it. So I'm not mad at that. You got Gordon Hayward and Marcus Morris for Avery Bradley, basically, and you did give up a chunk of your cap space to sign Gordon Hayward. But still, if you're going to trade for a player anyway, you're going to have to take on their salary in the long run. So it doesn't really matter. Gordon Hayward and Marcus Morris for Avery Bradley. Yeah, the Boston Celtics had the right idea, bolstering their roster, adding another star, trying to get to that finals, right? Because the East is so weak. Now's the time. I think if you're in the East, you shouldn't be waiting. Because I always hear we should just wait to get good. We should tank again, because there's no point in getting good because we're going to lose. Well, in the West, yeah, you should do that, but if you're bad, right? But in the East, it's up for grabs every year. Teams just aren't good enough. And if you want to stack superstars and challenge LeBron in the East, they will have trouble. Just because no one does that doesn't mean no one can do that. So Gordon Hayward joining Isaiah Thomas and Al Horford. Yeah, it sucks to lose Avery Bradley. I love Avery Bradley. I think he's the most underrated player in the league. I think he's so good and just doesn't get credit for it. So for me it's like, it's really tough to lose him, but you did get a better haul than what you gave up. Overall, Gordon Hayward and Marcus Morris are certainly more valuable and better to your team than Avery Bradley. The only problem is you still haven't solved your rebounding situation, and it's not going to get any better than it was last year. As we know, the Boston Celtics struggled mightily with rebounding last season, and they got rid of Amir Johnson. They replaced him with Marcus Morris. Your rebounding situation is going to be a lot worse than it was last year, and it was awful last year. So the Celtics might be in for some more trades to get a big man that's actually capable of hauling down a board. Other than that, this trade's great. The rebounding thing is still a huge nightmare, so I'm going to say B+ overall. I do like the direction of the team. I just can't really get on board with this whole, let's just get smaller, even though we were already not, I've said it enough. Anyway, I liked all these trades overall, I would say. And as you guys can tell, the Jimmy Butler one was the best for me because the Timberwolves clearly win in every aspect. There's really no downfall. Yeah, you get rid of Zach LaVine, but Jimmy Butler's a better fit anyway. He's already an established NBA star, whereas Zach LaVine had the potential to be a great scorer, but still would be playing behind two other guys, whereas Jimmy Butler can come in. And I don't even know if you really want Andrew Wiggins as your second guy because he's just not really capable of doing a whole lot else than scoring the basketball. Jimmy Butler is that guy now, and he's, I think, the best player on the team right now. He won't be, next year to me. But Cat's obviously going to be the focal point on that team. It's just, Jimmy Butler, I think, is the most valuable player on that squad, and he'll boost their team. And he also attracted a bunch of other free agents to join that team, like Taj Gibson, Jeff Teague, and Jamal Crawford all joined that team because of the trade, pretty much. They look really nice, really nice. So, I think Timberwolves made the best trade. But it's not a coincidence why I liked all these trades. You sometimes hear, the team that gets the best player wins the trade every time. That's, a common saying that we hear just because, you get a bunch of unproven prospects or picks back for a stud. And whoever's getting the stud is definitely a team ready to win now, and you're helping them. And there's really not a whole lot of downside for that trade for the team.